In this episode, I speak with Erin Borbet, and we talk from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective about what's happening during this time, how it affects our elements, particularly water and fire. What are some rituals, whether that is through acupressure points, flower essences, and foods to help nourish these particular parts of the body to reduce fear and anxiety and help us embrace the stillness and spaciousness, the unknown, and the transformation of the now. Welcome to the Flower Lounge, a place for conversations with wildly creative people and a little plant-loving wisdom to help you experience life in full bloom. I'm Katie Hess, flower alchemist and founder of LOTUSWEI, and I believe in a world where we're all living at our personal edge. So excited to have you back with us, Erin.
I'm excited to be here.
Coming in from Victor, Idaho.
Yes, Teton Valley.
Yeah, so we're going to post in the links below and on the blog post the previous interviews that I've done with you, Erin. And so that if folks want to dive deeper into Erin's work, you can do that. And we're just prefacing because we've talked about so many interesting things already. And I'll just say now that, to acknowledge that we've worked together for a number of years now doing the Costa Rica retreats. And I always say that Erin is the most gentle acupuncturist I know. But yeah, so we just thought it would be fun to have a conversation today and see what comes out. I had a couple of questions actually for you off the bat. Tell us, what's your life like? What's your daily life like right now? What's happening around you? Just give us a little sense of where you're at.
A little synopsis into life in April 2020. So I have a private practice where I see acupuncture clients in our small town 3 days a week. And then I work over the hill, as we call it, in Jackson Hole, 1 to 2 days a week, doing acupuncture over there. So I'm licensed in Wyoming and Idaho to do acupuncture. And 3 weeks ago, I was at where I see people in Jackson, and it was like I could feel the tide shifting. It was my last client. I wasn't even sure if she was going to show up. We were waiting to hear about the federal shutdown. It was kind of just as that was about to happen with the COVID-19. But my client came and I saw her, but it was like, oh, I could tell I wasn't going to see her again for a while. And as I was leaving, the manager of that clinic looked at me and said, we're going to be closed indefinitely as of now. So it was like my last client. I snuck in and I was like, whoa, okay, this is happening. And then my practice followed suit shortly thereafter. And so I'm closed as far as working with people in person, but was really motivated to continue serving as a healthcare worker and a service provider. It is almost impossible to have a situation where there feels like there's so much chaos and not be able to be of service, be told I can't be of service. So I've found kind of other ways to do that and turn my practice more virtually. Obviously, I'm not doing acupuncture virtually, but we're able to utilize the theories of acupuncture, and over video calls, I can give people pressure points. But really, it also brought me back to my training as a Chinese medicine practitioner, and how acupuncture is but one arm of that. And there is so many other ways to heal body, mind, and spirit through nutrition, through herbs, through meditation, through lifestyle, through movement. And now I'm really having to highlight all those other areas because the actual needling of people is out. And so far, it's been 3 weeks now, and I am amazed at working with people from all over the country now, but also working with clients who have only ever worked in person with me and getting real transformational results and just another layer of healing. So that's kind of where my professional life has turned. And then also I'm home with 3 small children who are home from school and doing their homeschool preschool and their homeschool first grade. And then the daycare kiddo, who's 3, is just running around like a crazy man in the background. So, we're making it work. We're cooking a lot of food. Thankfully, where we live, we have access to a lot of food and a wide variety of food. And so there's a part of me that's just kind of grateful at this moment that we can be together and just embrace the uncertainty for now.
And you said your husband was doing Facebook Live?
Yes, and my husband's an artist. He goes by Borbet. It's Borbay, and you can find him on Facebook. He's painting. He calls it Watching Paint Dry, and you could go watch his latest painting updates. And he's super enigmatic and fun, and
That's so
keeps
great.
things interesting.
Yeah, I really loved watching how just in a very short amount of time, people have really been able to explore how they express themselves through all this technological means that we have. It's so exciting and
It's so
interesting.
exciting. And, in many ways, like every now and then I'll hear people be like, I just want to hug someone, I just don't want to see someone through a screen. But it is amazing the amount of connection you can have when you take out commute time and any other obstacle to seeing someone and you just hop on a call for 10 minutes and see them. I don't know. I think it's interesting. It's providing something different.
Yeah, I even some construction guys. I talked to some construction guys for the building, and they were like, "Do you want to jump on a Zoom call tomorrow?" I was like, "Oh, that's unusual. Yeah, sure." Like everybody's doing Zoom these days.
Yeah, lucky Zoom.
And then we should also mention that you came. That was such a fun time, and it feels like 4 years ago, but it was really like 6 weeks ago to train with me. We had sort of a first little experience of kind of downloading some flower essence practitioner information. So
I'm so like, I feel like I got that in under the wire too.
Right.
We would have had to do that over Zoom, but we didn't have to. We did it in person, and I got to see the beautiful Sun Center and learn, what did we do? 80 flowers or something?
Yeah. Oh, it's really
80. Yeah.
turbo. That was really wonderful.
Amazing.
So I'm really excited. I'm just going to like front end this here, and then we'll say at the end again too, but I'm really excited about the possibility of you offering flower essence consultations. I have had this really great desire to work with practitioners in the last few years, and have been so happy and honored to work with you and Robin and Lisa and Costa Rica and other practitioners as well. And it's just it totally fills my heart, because if I can't do them and I'm too busy and running around like a chicken with no head, just having someone else that I 5,000% trust is really, really sweet, really beautiful. So I'm grateful for that. And we will release information about that, because it's going to happen really soon, right, Erin?
Yeah, I think so. I'm excited about it too.
I mean, in the meantime, so I thought I would pick your brain in terms of traditional Chinese medicine. We can talk flower essences too, whatever comes to your mind. Obviously, you had a lot of training, so feel free to throw that in the mix. But I was curious about this sort of, I mean, I understand that all over the United States and all over the world, because we actually have team members of ours who are in Asia and Canada and different parts of the world. So there's such a different range of what people are experiencing. And I know we have listeners in over 75 countries. So everyone's going to be experiencing something different. So, but we could use this information as also just universal knowledge. What is happening in the body from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective when we experience fear or nervousness or worry? What's actually happening in the meridians and organ systems, just so we're aware of when we experience something. I always try to think, try to remind myself, if I experience an intense emotion, to give myself a break to breathe through it and process it so it doesn't get stuck in the body. What's actually happening when we're afraid and worried?
Well, what's actually happening is going to be unique to that individual, because a presentation of any symptom, including anxiety and worry, is going to be based on their kind of constitutional tendencies. But if we're looking at just the general emotion of fear, then we're looking at what we call in Chinese medicine the water element. So we work with 5 different natural elements. Water, which houses the kidneys and the bladder, as far as the organs and meridians go, that is the one that houses our fear. So inevitably that will be tripped in some way, in whatever kind of pattern might be showing up for a unique individual. The other component would be fire, which is akin to the heart, small intestine, pericardium, and Sanjiao. So there's actually 4 meridians associated with fire, which is more that kind of anxious feeling, that frenetic energy, the heart palpitations or sweating, things like that could come with it. It would be that element, that meridian system that's getting tripped. And then we'd have to look at that, like I said, that individual person and see, well, why is that getting tripped? Is it a deficiency in that meridian, or perhaps, another meridian that's near it, and finding the way in. But what I've noticed just in these past few weeks, because I've been working with a lot of people where fear and anxiety is coming up, whether it was a predisposition or feels brand new to them. And it's very water, like it's very the fear-based of water. And the other aspects of water, just to kind of help give context, are it houses our will, our purpose, our power, how to wield it, and kind of potentiate our effects in this world. It is like the root of our wellness. It also houses our Jing, which is our essence. And even thinking of water, like when you imagine water, it will go to the deepest part, right? It will always trickle down as far as it can. It's not afraid of the depths, because that's where the good stuff is. So what I see happening is people, yes, there's some fear, there's all that unknown, all of that is going on, but also, for the most part, people's daily lives have stopped and they're doing less, and that's uncomfortable. And it's bringing up kind of some of these fears that maybe have been there for a long time. We've just been too busy to notice them.
Yeah, I talked to one of the girls on my team, and she kind of blurted out, and we're working.
Yeah, right.
We're even working. Like, she's not at home. She said, oh my God, I can't go to my show. Like, I can't go to shows. I can't go to music concerts. I can't go out. I can't go out with my friends. I can't go to eat. And she said, I am looking at stuff that I have been avoiding for my entire life. And I was thinking, and she's working. Like, so for folks who are at home sort of getting in that kind of fidgety mode, right, is what you're talking about, where things just kind of like that have been latent for so long.
Yep. Yeah. And even folks like I talked to one client today who's home with her 3 kids and homeschooling, and part of her house is under construction and construction's still going. Like her life hasn't actually stopped. It in many ways has gotten harder, because now she's schooling her kids, they're not out of the house, and all this stuff, yet she's getting all of these anxiety symptoms, but she is not stopping. Like the energy of this quarantine, for lack of a better word, is about, I think, just a little bit of creating that space for reflection, being home, and just stopping. And if we're not comfortable with that, then that's going to be really hard. But I believe that's where the medicine is for getting through the anxiety, getting through the fear.
When you say you believe that's where the medicine is, can you say more about that?
In doing less. So in committing to your spiritual practices, committing to meditation, committing to watching your breath for 5 breaths, committing to sitting in a chair and closing your eyes for 3 minutes, committing to these simple acts of self-care that reinforce stillness, reinforces that strength in your body. It reinforces that water element so that you can be comfortable sitting in the depths of the unknown, and therefore potentially even connect into a power that you didn't even know was there, or that you weren't aware of was there.
Boom. I love that.
Yeah.
Did you hear the story about the flower we found outside the building yet?
I heard a little bit of it.
Because it sounds a little bit
Tell me.
aligned with, yeah, I mean, I'm anxious to send you some and have you check it out. It's been sprouting for months and months and months. It finally bloomed in the last week or so.
Is it the milkweed?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
It's
it's
like
not the desert milkweed.
no, it's like a
Okay. It's a
funny
different
kind of,
milkweed. Okay.
never seen it before. And it's called the crown flower, right? Corona, which is like
Mm-hmm.
really strange. Right. And so when you were talking about will and purpose and power, I feel like, and I know that, folks who've been listening to this podcast know my personal views about this whole experience, on like a very macro level is exactly what you're talking about to help us, dive into the depths of ourselves. And the crown flower is about like facing our deepest fears so that we can make our greatest dreams happen. And it's like putting on the crown, right? Like that sense of purpose and expansion and like what was holding you back. And, for me, it might not be fear of the virus. I might have zero fear of the virus, but I might have fear of, oh, what if I speak up about something and people roast me publicly? Or for any one of us, it could be a million different types of fears that hold us back. So, is that what you're talking about when you talk
Yes.
about the water element?
That's what I'm talking about. It almost feels like, and to your point of like, what is the fear that we're being triggered by in this universal circumstance that is affecting every single person on the planet? I mean, this is mind boggling to me. Is that it's like shining an internal light. And so, what is going on inside your body and my body and everyone else's body is different, but it is shining a light on something that we're like, do I have to look at that? That is uncomfortable. Yeah, that's so cool. And now we have a flower to help remedy it.
And what have you experienced personally, like when you are able to make, those 5 breaths or that time for meditation? What do you what do you experience? How or how in your life have you seen that it connects you to sort of a bigger version of yourself?
Hmm.
Or like how do you see it play out in the little things in the day? Like whether
Yeah,
it's your kids or
I was just talking about this with someone else. Like for me, it is that hitting that consistent note that I don't know if it just plugs me into a little bit more self-acceptance, a little bit more self-love, a little bit more of that sense of interconnectedness and humanness. What it doesn't do is it doesn't make me not irritable or frustrated or angry. When I first started meditating, sometimes I would get like really pissed off about something after I meditated, and I'd be like, well, this doesn't work. I'm supposed to be all zen. And after years and years and years of meditating, I feel like it's not about not being negative feelings or negative, whatever, what I perceive as negative feelings or uncomfortable feelings, but it's about having a little bit more acceptance for what's arising and a little bit more of that feeling of like, this is happening in me, but I'm not alone and I'm not unique. And this is in that way, like that,
Mhm.
that there is a collective sense to these emotions, and I think that lifts the burden a little bit, so then I can just be how I'm feeling and get through it and not get so caught up in, well, but why am I angry, or why did I just yell at so and so, or why do I feel so bad, or whatever it is.
Mm,
For me, I guess that's how I would describe it.
yeah. Yeah, it's almost like there's this mirror of like politically, like, the whole like you turn on your computer and you're trying to figure stuff out and you can't really figure it out. It's very much the same when we turn inward. We can't always figure those things out either, and we just have to
Yeah,
sit with them.
yeah, just sit with them and just let it be okay.
And okay, so I have another question for you about the gates in the body. And okay, because what I have seen in myself, I'll make it very me personal. What I've seen in myself is that in the past few weeks, I have been very much quicker to discern when a particular something sets me off. And I very clearly know that it's tied to something past life. Like it's not proportionate with what's happening today. Is there anything that you can say for folks who believe in that type of thing? Is there anything you can say in terms of Chinese medicine and the different points or gates that would relate to the body's energetic system capacity to release something very old that's been stuck in the body? Anything?
Yeah. I mean, there are classically, I mean, there are so many lineages of Chinese medicine and of acupuncture, and my training is in traditional Chinese medicine with a little bit of training in some other lineages. Um, but there are like ghost points and window of the sky points that do connect to other realms or potential memories of other, past life experiences, if that's, like you said, something that is in your belief system, but that certain acupuncture points, because they're all they are is just energy wells, like a spot of concentrated energy, right? Which, we're made up of cells and connected by energy with little teeny tiny bits of space between them. And so it's kind of that space that acupuncture is accessing. So it would make sense that yes, we could um, access those energies in different time, space, frequencies, or whatever without getting too far down a rabbit hole, using principles of Chinese medicine. So what is there like a point for releasing energy that's not yours? Not a single point that I know of, but there are points again that, like, based on the individual constitution, we could either move stagnant energy or nourish depleted energy that might be congregating in an area. It's bringing up these sensations that aren't yours. And there's also, in five element theory, an aggressive energy treatment as well as a possession treatment. And these are like very energetic treatments. And I've trained a little in five elements. So, like, to get the full picture, you'd want to speak with that's all that they do is five element. But there is a certain set of points to release energy that you've absorbed that is not yours, that is affecting your health. And there's a certain set of points to release if an actual like entity has gleaned onto you, and to release that.
Speaking of collective energy, where we're all connected, and this is something that's passing through us all. I know when I talk about red clover, sometimes it's like the flower that helps us unplug from the collective. And remember when we were in Costa Rica that time where it was like everyone had this similar situation happening on the same day?
Yes.
So I realize you're not seeing patients and taking pulses at this point, but based on the clients that you're speaking to, is there any sort of common themes or sort of collective threads?
Yep. I would say it. I mean, it's the fear thread and the anxiety thread. So it's the heart kidney connection. And actually, the heart kidney has its own specific axis in Chinese medicine of the way they communicate with each other, keeping each other in check, the heart providing the fire for the kidney to follow through with the will and purpose, and the kidney providing the water to keep the fire from getting out of control, right? And burning too hot and having us go, too far or too much, more than we can handle. And the I think that we can look at this analogy even through the kidney meridian specifically, which starts on the bottom of the foot, which is like the lowest, most bottom point on the body, right? It's like there is no point lower in kidney one. And then it comes all the way up through the inner legs, through the torso, and then it ends right at the top of the chest. And there are all these we call them spirit points, these upper kidney points, specifically kidney 23 through 27, and they come right out at the heart. So it's like this communication to me of grounding, rooting in yourself, trusting in yourself. When there's so much uncertainty outside, you can always go home inside, right? Finding that grounding in yourself through that stillness, and then having it express out through the heart, through love and compassion. And to me, that's just like the common theme right now of the more of us that can just do that in spite of everything and taking those minutes. I know we'll get through this, but make it an easier journey.
What flower essences have you been working with?
In my practice lately, I've been working mostly with the Radiant Energy blend because I do work with so many women with menstrual stuff, but even that, and I find it so effective for that, both topically and internally. But even that, I'm saying the same things with them. I'm like, oh, we're talking about hormones, but we're still talking about kidney energy and fear and anxiety and just calming that whole system down so that everything else can reorganize. So yes, Radiant Energy is the one I'm working with a lot. I'm personally taking Strawberry Blossom right now, which I love. I have my kids on Fierce Compassion and my husband on Radiant Energy. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
And what would you recommend for someone, whether it's herbs or whether it's lifestyle or practices, with a sort of discomfort with the unknown? That's sort of like, oh my God, how long is this going to go on? And why is this happening? And
number one is lifestyle practice and meditation and committing to it. And I think I saw you post something about this yesterday or something, but I've actually been saying this to my clients for 2 weeks, is that self-care is a necessity right now, not a luxury. And you cannot skip it. You cannot make an excuse. You cannot not meditate because your kids are melting down or because the food is late or whatever it is. It has to be a non-negotiable right now, I think. And that's like our biggest test. And then definitely flower essences for that. I also think a lot of boundless wisdom, just getting comfortable with
space
and sitting in stillness and just allowing for that and being available to see the support that's around you in any given moment when it feels like you're all alone. I love boundless wisdom for that. But then also like individual formulas, I found what's coming up a lot for people is creating ritual. So for a lot of people, schedules have been flipped upside down and having not necessarily a schedule, because I think the whole point is we're trying to create more space, but rituals. So where are kind of your touchstones throughout the day, so that you can recheck in and be like, okay, at 11 a.m., if I just wasted the whole day already on social media, maybe now is when I'm going to go for a walk instead, or go do my meditation, or read the book I've been waiting to read, or, help my kid with their schoolwork. But we always have a chance to reinvent ourselves. And so kind of having a few touchstones, whether it's mealtime or a special beverage, a special tea. I've been really liking Rasa tea, brewing that in the afternoon and adding some flowers to it. It's like how I know I got to 3 o'clock, and then like I know what to do next, and then I can go forth from there. Just little things like that. That's helping people feel a little more of a container.
Mm-hmm. And
then the other thing herbally that has been interesting, which is a little bit off topic, but is it also, it's like where, in our hemisphere anyways, and around where I live, the season is changing. And so allergies are starting to come up. Stuff has melted and there's new awakening of things, and people are getting a little sick, whether it's like COVID or not. They're not feeling good and they can't go anywhere or get anything because everyone's closed. And so even just helping people over the phone to make an antiviral garlic honey tea, or, you know, what oils to diffuse that are antibacterial and antiviral, or making a concentrated ginger juice to soothe stomach aches, and just helping people to look in their kitchen and find little remedies for things that might be going on, because things like that don't stop just because we're all at home. So looking to herbs for that, which I haven't had a huge opportunity to do, you know, exclusively, because most people just go to their doctor, but their doctors aren't seeing people if you're healthy or relatively healthy. So yeah, so getting antiviral, antibacterial herbs, whether they're kitchen herbs or something more, you know, prescribed that's custom or Western that we didn't just send away for. Yeah, there's so many different ways that you can support yourself.
So fun. You
Mm-hmm.
should do a series. You should do a series on
I know
what's in your kitchen.
I will. I should. That's
Do a little webinar or something.
I'm collecting data, so yes, I will.
Yeah, because you have a really nice way of making it fun. I don't know if you know that, but you have
I know that either.
a nice way of making things really fun. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so I know we had talked about, well, is there anything else that comes to mind that you really want to share?
No, just this concept of, I think we were talking about fear and anxiety and self-exploration, but the word trust just keeps coming up. And as much as, you know, you can go back to that, trusting in something that's not coming through, perhaps obviously, and just allowing space for that.
You know what I find odd is I'm in Arizona. I mean, maybe because it's the beautiful weather, but I'm in Arizona and I can't really perceive any fear here. But we're in the desert, so you'd think that our kidneys would be super weak. Or maybe that makes us more resilient. I don't know. What's going on there?
There are other things involved to the health of a system, like the earth element and the metal element and the wood element. And they all work together to regulate, you know, like water metabolism and things like that. I see what you're thinking as, like, you know, desert sun would just dry up our water and make us more prone to fear. But also you're getting the sunshine more and vitamin D, and that's feeding your cells in different ways. And
it's just different.
It's not so elemental. Yeah, it's not so simple as like, if you're in a dry climate, then your water will be off. I mean, over time, it could just start to trigger you. But the more important piece, I think, is your internal landscape and your willingness to be in all of the elements, right? We're talking about water today, but they're all important and they all depend and mutually, you know, rely on each other. So I think it just goes back to that self-reflection and like loving all parts of yourself and all facets of yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the awkward and the awesome, you know, like whatever it is. Yeah.
The awkward and the awesome. I love that.
I mean, we still have a good deal of snow on the ground, and I am definitely envious of your sunshine and cannot wait till we can go run outside a little bit more. So I think that it's probably healing to the people around you, just that they can have that freedom a little bit. And a little bit more space so they can be outside safely. True. Which is really different for everyone, depending on where they are.
And I know you had some points in mind for applying anointing oils. I have an anointing oil here that I can be.
I have the same one.
Yeah, I cannot get enough of Wild Abundance lately. I don't know what it is. Good.
That is good.
So what points did you choose?
Well, I chose the upper kidney points as number one, just as like, you know, reinforcing that water element, giving us the strength to go inward and feel safe there. And then coming out compassionately through the heart into the external world and with ourselves. So the main kidney point that I think of that I use a lot in my practice is kidney 27,
Okay.
which is actually, so if you find your clavicle bone, which is kind of the bone just above where your chest ends, your rib cage, and you go into the little nook that's so your sternum bone goes right down the middle of your chest. So it's in the little depression on the side of your sternum bone, right under the clavicle. Yep, you got it. I know I wore a turtleneck, so I'm not going to get there. But that's it. That's kidney 27. And then every upper kidney point goes one rib below. So you can feel in the depression below that next rib, right along the sternum again, is kidney 26, kidney 25.
Kind of tender in there.
Yeah, yeah. And usually one will be more tender than the others. You can put extra oil or extra pressure on that point, or you could just do all of them. They're all good. They're all spiritual points. I looked them up. They all translate to something different. Spiritual storehouse, spiritual burial ground, spiritual seal, spiritual center. So all of these are spirit points as they kind of come out of the kidney meridian through the heart. So those are your first, I guess, 4 points. But
so does that mean you would like apply anointing oil to your fingers and sort of massage down those? Ooh, okay.
Yep, that's what I would do. I would just do all of them. Yeah, I would just do all of them. And then, even so while we're here, if we go out under the clavicle bone, just before the shoulder, so you're still on the chest, but you kind of follow the clavicle bone out. Now you're on the lung meridian, which I also think is important so the lung is part of the metal element, which houses grief, which is another emotion that's been coming up a lot with this whole kind of process of people, losing a lot of things.
Oh, that's tender too.
Yeah, lung 1 and lung 2 are there. Also supports respiration and the whole, respiratory system. So that's good too. And then Ren 17 is it right so that's on the conception vessel, which is the first meridian that develops in utero in everybody. So that is kind of a special meridian, but it's right down the center of the body. It goes like all the way down. And so right on your sternum, if you go a little bit lower, almost like mid chest, right between like nipple line, that's Ren 17. And that's where all chi of all the meridians meet. So it's a way to access. So you've got kind of like a lot of chest points here where you could put some anointing oils and tonify your respiratory system, tonify your chest, tonify your heart center, and then also settle your spirit.
And any anointing oil or like anyone you want, anyone you've.
I would just do, like the one you can't get enough of right now is probably a good one to do.
Okay, so just to review, under the clavicle and all those little points down your front straight line. For those who aren't watching and listening, if you're listening, we're going to do this on YouTube so you can see it. But and then the lung points are chasing underneath your clavicle over to the sides.
Mm-hmm. Yep, over to the sides, like kind
shoulders.
kind of in from your arms. So it's like still on your chest. Yeah. Kind of between ribs too, right on the outer side of it. Yeah.
And then the last one was
Ren 17, which is right in the center of the sternum. So if you follow it all the way down.
Like between your boobs.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Right between your boobs. Yeah.
Okay.
If you were a man, it'd be right between your nipples. Yeah.
It's interesting because all of those points that you mentioned are very tender. And I don't feel like I am experiencing fear or anxiety, but those points are really tender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's common. It also can be a presentation of like adrenal exhaustion from kidney energy and where the kidney meridian ends. And so just consolidating your resources, right? It can be talked about from that side too, and making sure that you're not burning the candle at both ends and, all that stuff, that you're doing it in balance. You're bringing your will into the world, your potential and your power into the world in balance.
Love that.
Yeah.
So how often would you do that?
I
during
would
the
do it
day?
as often as you feel like. But what I love about the flowers, both taking the drops or doing anointing oils like this, is I think they can be a catalyst for more of that slowing down and self-care moments, right? So if you can, take 3 breaths while you're doing this, while you're applying the oils to these points, and do that 3 to 5 times a day, you're doing good on your meditation practice as well. You're getting it from a few sides. Yeah, but I think also with the oils, you're getting that olfactory sense too, which calms the nervous system and stimulates all the good endorphins. So it can just kind of change
I'm
whenever you
gonna
need that
do
shift.
that. Yeah, I'm gonna try that from now on because the anointing oils are so fragrant, right? They're so strong. It's like a perfumer's dilution. So if you're putting it, like I'm so used to putting them on my
Yeah.
wrist, but if you're putting them up near your clavicles,
Yep.
then you could just sit for like 3 minutes and just smell the yummy smells
And
and
just
breathe.
breathe. Yes, yes. I do love how you always say to put them on your wrist. I've heard you say that a lot, like on your pulse points and your channels. And there are some points here that I love too, because there's 3 meridians right along the wrist, right? We've got the lung, the pericardium, and the heart meridian that go straight up and right here. So you're still getting the energy flowing in the same area, but from distally, right? From points not on the chest. So those are also good ones to do.
So if you're like watching your kids or watching Netflix, or you have a moment even where you're just kind of quiet, you can massage yourself in those points
Yep.
to build your
Just with the
resources.
pressure. Yeah, that would be like, so if I was doing acupuncture on someone, I would be stimulating that point with a needle. But you can stimulate it with pressure with your fingertips. You can potentiate the effects with flower essences and essential oils. So these are all just different ways to stimulate the energy at that point, which we now know energy is just the space between the cells at that spot, and trying to open it up so that you feel more peace and ease.
Love it.
Yeah. Another one I love is because I've been seeing a lot of head and neck tension. And I also think we're being faced with now we can't have our physical appointments anymore, right? Like even I'm used to getting my acupuncture every month or
Can't go to the
massage or
gym. You can't
yeah.
you can run around the block, but
Yeah. If you have a very willing roommate or partner, you might get a little rub on your neck, but otherwise we're kind of all these things that we're used to going and getting our body treated by someone else are not available to us. And I think again, there's also an opportunity there to look, well, okay, so why does this keep coming up? Why is this tension here? Why is this pain here? What can I do differently? Is it how I'm sitting? Is it because I haven't moved in 5 hours? I've been sitting at my desk, or, what can I do? Like a new way to relate to your own physical discomfort.
yes.
And the gallbladder meridian is like right at the base of the skull. There's a few meridians back there, but the gallbladder one is the one I want to highlight at the base of the skull. And then it comes down to the top of the shoulder where almost everyone has like a little golf ball right on the top of their trap that just feels like, whoa. I know you know that one. And so I love to put quiet mind there. To me, that just like kind of soothes everything. And the gallbladder meridian actually, it rules the entire musculoskeletal system. So if you have pain or tension anywhere, putting it on these points could activate some healing for anywhere in the body if it's muscle pain related. So that's another one that I think is good right now for self-care. If you don't have access to flower essences right now, lavender or bergamot are great ones to put on the gallbladder meridian as well. Just be careful with bergamot because it can react to the sun. So if you're in Arizona, don't go outside with that on your skin. If you're in Idaho, it doesn't matter. You're in a turtleneck. For now. Yeah, so that would be some other points.
I know since you love to cook and you're such an incredible So jealous of your kitchen skills.
Mm.
Any just sort of like foods that you would recommend for folks for nourishing their resources and kidneys and cooling the heart heat?
Again, it'll depend on where you live and your environment, but typically for like kidney, like water, kidney energy through food, number one. So the kidneys also rule the bones and our skeletal system because that's the deepest part of our bodies, right? It's our structure. So bone broth, actually consuming that of other animals, is nourishing to that kidney energy. Any kind of bone broth. Bone marrow is even more nourishing. It depends what you have available to you, if you can get like ethically sourced animal products for that. But roasting some bone marrow, pureeing it in a vegetable puree, and then boiling the bones for bone broth, that would be like your ultimate kidney tonic. If you're a vegetarian and that's unavailable to you, then kidney beans are super nourishing to the kidney element. They even look like little kidneys to the water elements. You can boil those with some seaweed. Seaweed is another super nourishing water kidney element. And then sea salt is salty as the taste of the kidney. So high mineral, high quality sea salt. Just add it to everything.
So like sea salt chocolate.
Oh yes, of course. And the chocolate will tonify the heart. There you go. Boom.
Just a little whey-inspired whey of chocolate.
Yes, that is your perfect heart kidney tonic. Sea salt, whey chocolate. Yes. Yes. And for heart, it's a little bit, I don't think of calming heart energy with food so much. I think of it more with like sleep, like getting enough sleep and good quality sleep. And that's super nourishing for the heart energy. Some bitter foods can help. So like bitter greens, which we're moving into that season, that it'll kind of come through the liver. So like dandelion greens, broccoli rabe, dandelion root tea, things like that will kind of work on the heart a little bit through the liver.
Okay. Well, this is fun.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, if anyone is out there and wants to make an appointment with Erin in terms of traditional Chinese medicine, more of like a medical appointment virtually, you can go to her website, and that is Erin Borbet. Her last name is Borbet, and we'll put that in the blog post. And then we will also include information about this potentiality of doing flower essence consultations with us. So there's a couple different options and ways that you can get more of Erin. Do you want to add anything? Or any last kind of like words of wisdom or something you kind of been mulling on, or something else that wants to come out?
I'm just super grateful to be of service. And I do believe that if we're willing, there is an opportunity right now for each of us, and that will look very different for everyone. But I just encourage you to take a moment and explore your inner landscape. And thanks for listening.
Thanks for being with us, Erin. Thank you so much for listening to the Flower Lounge. I'm Katie Hess, and we'll be releasing a new podcast every Wednesday. If you like what you heard, or you know someone who might be touched by our conversation, share it with them. And don't forget to subscribe. To find out what your favorite flowers mean about you, take the quiz at LOTUSWEI.com.